Our mission at TaskHaven is to accelerate the use of intelligent help. Some months ago, I was sort of looking for the next thing to work on. You know, what's next for me, right? Quite rigorously, actually. I didn't want to continue what I was doing, another job, another contract. I was bored of all of that. In fact, I had been bored for quite a while, and I had been, thinking about starting a company for a while, just didn't know when. And I started to feel like it was time, but that wasn't the most important thing. The important thing was actually there was something that I was starting to work on that I started to take interest in. I know a few people who I'm a big football fan, right? And then I know a few people who are very interested in playing professionally. Of course, they are at a huge disadvantage simply because they're from Nigeria, right? You just get to see people and you know that, oh, if this guy was in Spain or was in England, he'll be a big star, right? My brother is one of those people. I know more also, but he's top in my mind whenever I think of such. So then I started to think, if there is this huge problem, how about I find a way to connect people like this to club scouts and clubs basically? Of course, the mountain to climb was quite obvious, but perhaps I was living in denial. I wanted to give it a shot. The outcome was going to be glorious. The only question was, can you get it done? With everything that had happened, I couldn't get it done. I didn't know any real scouts. I met some people on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Nothing real materialized. Nobody with actual influence. And even if they did, I wasn't going to base my whole company on remote promises. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't the time. I just wasn't the person to do it at that time. So I started to look at what's the lower hanging fruit, talking to people and stuff. Then I started to notice some other trend. A lot of my friends have normal stuff to do, normal jobs, because the spirit of what I wanted to do was a way to connect people for a certain purpose, right? So then I started thinking, what other way can I connect people? Then I realized that I actually have needs that I want to, like tiny home chores, clothes cleaning, partial clothes cleaning, maybe just iron pressing, because you know, especially when you have someone that does washing, but you don't go to the dry cleaner and all of that. So I felt, what if for every single micro job or micro task, anyone anywhere could get somebody to do for them, like even if it's not something that is actually a professional service, but you just need it and someone will go do it. And even those that are, what if you could just get anything done, right? At your own convenience by someone near you, right? You don't have to go long distances. You don't have to know someone who does it normally. You don't have to reach all your friends. You just need something. The way you find the ride when you book Uber. What is Uber for everything? Sounds like a stretch, right? So I reached out to my very good friend and partner. We started working on some stuff. We did a form. In fact, we are going to start with no code. We did a form eventually. We just started something. May 10. I think we started writing code May 10. When we settled that we had to build our own platform right from the beginning. Not even test with no code. So, and then about 10 days later, we first launched. Didn't say much, just told probably our friends in the department, was supposed to be more working on it anyway, but for many reasons, we had to just start that way. We had been talking for some time before that. Then in June, started to talk about it a little more. We did a relaunch among our friends. We did a relaunch among all our social media. That's when we started to get customers really. Before then, I think we probably had one customer. Then we had a few more. Then after some time, I went to Lagos. I went to Paystack. Met a few people. I met one of the persons that I would say has been maybe most influential till date. In some ways, yes. I met Uzo from Relief. I met some other people that were just building stuff, right? a pay stack. Then there was Abdul from Mono. We didn't meet or speak per se, but he and the friends. And then Termi. So fast forward. Went to Lagos for a couple reasons. Decided to like start a quest to find service providers in the area that I was. I did a tour. I got numbers. I sort of mapped a certain location. Then I started to discover that I could do that online. Even when I came back to Ife, I found people online that could do stuff at particular places. Of course, with Google Maps and all that. So basically, I felt like worst case scenario, even if I know no one I can trust, this is like my backup plan. We actually have service providers everywhere and we can access them. Most people don't know that, right? It's one of those truths that are staring in your face, hiding in plain sight. So we kept making our product better till then. Today we have customers in Ife and Lagos. This isn't even the summary of the story to date, but it's close. I think it's close. This is so funny. I feel like I'm making a promise. At TaskHaven, we have very exciting visions of the future for every part of the world, especially in Nigeria. We have ideas of multiple possible realities. We have multiple use cases of AI in mind. And we think one of the things that makes us strongest, that would most make the case for how successful we become or perform, is our use of artificial intelligence, because of how we think it can transform today's society. TaskHaven is not necessarily the first of its kind. If you look at the grand scheme of things, everything that has come before it, in fact, people helping people to do things, whether general stuff or very inclined or delivery, or it's something that has always existed in one form or the other. We're just changing the way it's done. All that being said, one of the reasons we carry on with full force is that though we may have started from a similar point in comparison to everyone else in history, purpose, or use, we have very divergent paths in terms of our vision of the future, in terms of our progress as we move forward. One open secret, as I wrote in our blog, is the idea of, AI being a pillar of helping people get stuff done. Even in this day when there is no proliferated use of humanoid robots and stuff like that. Of course, there are so many uses of AI already, even today, and there are different kinds of robots anyway. But one of the most important things is the thinking of AI at its core. Whatever we build now, we build with the mind of how best can we use extra intelligence to help people, even when we don't necessarily apply it in building product or building a feature, but we think in that line. It is one of the things that guides our thinking. So it won't be too funny to say we think in AI. Yeah, it's a buzzword, it's always been. But beyond that, beyond everything, it could still be extremely useful. It is probably the most useful thing that will happen in the next few decades, even with the singularity, even with the coming together of so many different new technologies that people are building, even without thinking too much about the consequences. And that's not a problem necessarily. Definitely, there should be more responsible use of building tech, but it's not always the most important thing to consider. So AI is a pillar at TaskHaven. I hope very exciting things happen in the future. Whatever that means to you, think of help today as come to our website, you push a button or a few buttons, you just list a task. As we say, list a task. One of the first few things that caught on. Then someone contacts you, someone attends to your needs, someone calls you, gets extra info from you. That's because we are still working with screens, right? We are already cyborgs in one way or the other. We already interface with gadgets, with machines so much. But the thing is that we don't do that in the smoothest way possible, right? So what if instead of having to decide what you want and give someone specifics, you could just think of something, and there is a way to measure how much you want to do it. Even if you're not too sure, we can help you decide whether you need to do it or not, right? Basically, we are lifting the burden of decision making off you, and we are reducing the complexity of communicating with us, right? We have to press a button today, we have to tap a screen today, but what if the screen was in your head, or what if it was in your face? So whatever the past or the future may look like to you, we always still optimize for convenience, and we think of humans helping a lot, and then hopefully with time, humans plus very obvious uses of AI. I spoke in the blog about short time frame delivery, about autonomous delivery, about neuralysis I just explained, and a few other things like that that will become possible with time, as long as they don't oppose the laws of physics. Anyway, so the future is extremely exciting. That is one thing for sure.